The restraints weren't what bothered Commander Marcus Webb. After 17 years in the Terran fleet, he'd been captured twice before. Once by Keth'ira pirates, once by a Dominion strike team. Both times, the interrogations had followed predictable patterns: pain, threats, more pain, eventual rescue or escape. This was different. The Vel'kari had taken him during the ambush on Outpost Theta 9. His entire squad was dead. He'd watched Lieutenant Chen take a plasma bolt to the chest, watched Sergeant Okonkwo get dragged into the tree line by something with too many limbs. Marcus had killed 11 of them before they brought him down with a neural disruptor. Now he sat in a cell that looked nothing like a cell. Soft lighting. Climate control set to human comfortable temperatures. A sleeping platform with actual padding. Even a small viewport showing the purple-tinged sky of whatever world they'd brought him to. The door slid open without warning. She was smaller than he'd expected. The Vel'kari he'd fought were warriors. 7 feet of armored chitin and rage. This one barely reached his shoulder. Her exoskeleton was a pale lavender, almost translucent in places, and her 4 eyes studied him with an intensity that made him want to look away. "Commander Marcus Webb," she said. Her voice was surprisingly melodic, the translation implant in his skull rendering it into accented but clear English. "Terran Fleet, 7th Assault Division. 18 years of service. 43 confirmed engagements. 2 previous captures, both resulting in escape." Marcus said nothing. "I am Keth'ira. I will be conducting your interrogation. Good luck with that." She tilted her head, a gesture that looked almost human. "You misunderstand. I am not here to extract information through pain. That method is inefficient with your species. Your neural pathways are remarkably resistant to traditional techniques." "Glad to hear it." Keth'ira moved closer, and Marcus noticed she walked differently than the warriors. Lighter, dark too. More hesitant. She carried a small device in her upper hands, some kind of tablet, while her lower hands remained clasped in front of her. "I am a memory reader," she said. "My caste is trained to extract information through prolonged proximity and conversation." Marcus laughed. It was a harsh, ugly sound. "You're going to talk me into giving up fleet positions? No." Those 4 eyes blinked in sequence, top to bottom. "I'm going to understand you. When I understand you completely, your memories will become accessible to me. It is a process that takes time. Intimacy, in a sense. I've been tortured before. This is not torture, Commander. This is something far more invasive." She paused at the edge of his restraint field. "By the time I am finished, I will know you better than you know yourself. Every memory, every fear, every moment of weakness you have hidden from the universe." For the first time since his capture, Marcus felt a flicker of genuine unease. "The process begins tonight," Keth'ira said. "I will return when the second moon rises." She left without another word. The second moon rose 3 hours later. Marcus had spent the time testing his restraints, a waste of energy, but old habits died hard, and cataloging what he knew about the Vel'kari. Their empire spanned 40 systems. They'd been at war with humanity for 6 years. They viewed humans as dangerous, but inferior, a pest species that had somehow developed interstellar travel. He knew almost nothing about the memory readers. Keth'ira returned carrying what looked like a tea service. She set it on a small table that rose from the floor at her touch, then seated herself across from him with careful precision. "You have not slept," she observed. "Hard to sleep when you're planning to crack open my skull. That is not how the process works." She poured something steaming into 2 small cups. "I require your cooperation. Not your compliance. Cooperation cannot be forced, but your engagement. Every question I ask, every answer you give, or refuse to give, brings me closer to understanding your thought patterns. So I should just stay quiet. You could try." She pushed 1 cup toward him. The restraint field allowed him to reach it. "But silence is also a form of communication. The questions you refuse to answer tell me as much as the ones you do." Marcus looked at the cup. "Poison? If I wanted you dead, Commander, you would already be dead. This is caste, a mild stimulant. Your species finds the taste unpleasant, but the effect is clarifying." He didn't touch it. Keth'ira sipped from her own cup, all 4 eyes watching him over the rim. "Let us begin with something simple. Why did you join the Terran fleet? To kill Vel'kari? No. You enlisted 11 years before first contact with my species. Try again." Marcus gritted his teeth. "I don't remember." "Lie, Dutz." She said it without heat. "You remember perfectly. You simply do not wish to share the memory. That is acceptable. Your resistance tells me it was formative. Something personal rather than ideological. A death, perhaps. Or an escape. He kept his face blank, but something must have shown. An escape, Keth'ira said softly. You were running from something. The fleet was not a destination but a departure. Are you reading my mind right now? No. I am reading your face, your posture, the micro-tremors in your voice. Human bodies are remarkably expressive. Your species evolved to communicate emotions. You cannot help but broadcast them, even when you try to hide. And what am I broadcasting now? Anger. Fear. A desperate need to regain control of a situation that has moved beyond your control. She set down her cup. Also curiosity. You want to understand how this works. Whether it can be beaten. Marcus said nothing. It cannot be beaten, Keth'ira said. But the process is not what you fear. I am not your enemy, Commander. I am simply a tool. A method of information extraction that my superiors find more reliable than cruder techniques. You're a weapon. Something flickered across her face. A tightening of the mandibles. A slight dimming of the inner eyes. Yes. I suppose I am. She stood, gathering the tea service. That is enough for tonight. The process works better with rest. You will sleep now, not because I command it, but because the kf in the air has a secondary effect on human physiology. Marcus's eyelids were already heavy. You drugged me. I encouraged sleep. Tomorrow night, we will continue. The questions will become more personal. The last thing he saw before darkness took him was Keth'ira pausing at the door, looking back at him with an expression he couldn't read. The second night began with a question Marcus hadn't expected. Do you have children, Commander? He was more alert this time, had refused the tea, kept his breathing shallow to minimize whatever was in the air. Keth'ira sat across from him in the same position as before, but something about her seemed different. Tired, maybe. Did Vel'kari get tired? No, he said. Truth. Do you want children? What does that have to do with fleet positions? Nothing. Nothing. She tilted her head. I'm not asking about fleet positions tonight. I am asking about you. Why? Because that is how the process works. I must understand the mind before I can read it. Your tactical knowledge is useless without context. I need to know what you value, what you fear, what you would die to protect, and what I would kill to protect. Yes, that especially. She leaned forward slightly. You have killed many of my people, Commander. 43 engagements, hundreds of deaths. Do you regret any of them? Marcus considered lying, considered staying silent. But something about the quiet intimacy of the room, the soft light and her steady gaze, made honesty feel like less of a surrender. One, he said. Keth'ira waited. Outpost Meridian. 3 years ago. We were clearing a Vel'kari supply depot when I came across a nursery, I guess. Eggs. Hundreds of them. Protocol said to destroy them. Prevent future combatants. And you did. And I did. The silence stretched between them. I thought I would feel nothing, Marcus continued, surprising himself. They were eggs, not even hatched yet. But afterward, he stopped, jaw tight. You dreamed about them, every goddamn night for 6 months. Keth'ira's mandibles clicked softly, a sound he was beginning to recognize as thoughtful. Those eggs would have been memory readers. The nursery you described. That is how my caste is raised. Separate from the warriors, separate from the workers. We are considered valuable. Marcus felt something cold settle in his stomach. I killed your people. Your caste. Yes. And now you're here. Interrogating me. Yes. Is this revenge? Keth'ira's 4 eyes blinked in that strange sequence again. If I wanted revenge, Commander, I would tell my superiors that you are resistant to memory reading. They would transfer you to the warriors. The methods there are less civilized. Why haven't you? Because I am not interested in revenge. She stood, moving to the viewport. The purple sky was darkening, strange constellations emerging. I am interested in understanding. My entire existence has been dedicated to understanding other minds, Vel'kari minds, enemy minds, the minds of species that no longer exist because we could not find common ground. That's a pretty speech. It is the truth. She turned back to him. You asked earlier if I am a weapon? The answer is yes, but even a weapon can grow tired of killing. Marcus studied her. Really looked at her for the first time. The pale lavender of her exoskeleton, the way the light caught the translucent sections. The weariness in the set of her shoulders, so human despite her alien form. How old are you? He asked. By your measurements? Approximately 32 years. How many interrogations? You are my 217th subject. And how many of them survived? Keth'ira was silent for a long moment. 12. The number hung in the air between them. I could lie to you, she said finally. Tell you that most subjects are released after information extraction. But you would know it was a lie, and lies damage the process. So I will tell you the truth. The information I extract is usually the last thing my subjects ever share. It is used and then they are disposed of. Yes. But 12 survived. The 12 who were valuable enough to keep. Diplomats. Scientists. People whose continued existence served Vel'kari interests. She returned to her seat. You are a commander. Valuable, but not irreplaceable. The odds of your survival are not favorable. Then why tell me this? Because you asked. Her voice was soft, and because I have grown tired of lying. Marcus leaned back against his restraints. You're not what I expected. No, yet. I imagine you expected a monster. A slight flutter of her mandibles. Amusement. I am simply a person, Commander. Doing a job I was born to do. A job I did not choose. None of us choose, do we? I didn't choose to be a soldier. Didn't choose to burn nurseries or watch my squad get slaughtered. We just end up where we end up. Is that philosophy or despair? Both, probably. Keth'ira made a sound he couldn't interpret. You are easier to talk to than most humans. Usually your species is more aggressive, more closed. Give it time, I'll disappoint you. I doubt that. She rose again. Tomorrow we will continue. The questions will be more direct. I need to understand your relationship with your commanding officers, your knowledge of fleet communication protocols. Back to the job. Back to the job. She paused at the door. Commander, Marcus. For what it is worth, the nursery at Meridian. Those eggs would have grown into people like me. Weapons. Tools. They would have spent their lives inside the minds of enemies, extracting secrets through imposed intimacy. You're saying I did them a favor. I am saying... She stopped, seemed to reconsider. I am saying that existence is not always a gift. Sleep well. She was gone before he could respond. Night 3 was different. Keth'ira arrived late, and there was something off about her movements. A stiffness in her upper limbs. A slight discoloration along her left side. Marcus had seen enough combat injuries to recognize damage when he saw it. What happened to you? She paused halfway to her chair. You are concerned? Observant. There's a difference, of course. She settled into her seat with visible effort. Disagreement with my superiors. They feel the process is taking too long. They wanted to accelerate the timeline. And you disagreed. The process cannot be accelerated. Attempting to force it damages the subject's mind, renders the extracted information unreliable. I explained this. They expressed their displeasure. Marcus felt something he hadn't expected. Anger. Not at his situation, but at the image of this slight, tired creature being beaten for doing her job correctly. That's barbaric. That is war, Commander. She arranged her tablet on the table. Movements precise despite the obvious pain. Shall we continue? Are you sure you're up for this? Those 4 eyes fixed on him. Why do you care? The question hit harder than it should have. Why did he care? She was his enemy. His interrogator. The creature extracting his secrets one conversation at a time. I don't know, he admitted. Honesty. Something shifted in her voice. That is unexpected. Yeah, well, we're all full of surprises. Keth'ira was quiet for a moment. Then, tonight's questions were supposed to focus on fleet deployment patterns, communication codes, the location of hidden bases. Supposed to. I find myself unwilling to proceed with that line of inquiry. She set down her tablet. Instead, I would like to ask you something else. Something personal. More personal than my greatest regret. Perhaps. She leaned forward, and Marcus noticed for the first time how her inner eyes were a slightly different shade than the outer ones. Deeper, more violet. You have been captured 3 times now. Each time you were interrogated. Each time you gave nothing. Why? That's what soldiers do. No. Many soldiers break. Most eventually. You did not. You were tortured by the Keth'ira for 11 days. You should have died from the pain alone. But you held on. Why? Marcus closed his eyes. The memories of those 11 days were still there, buried, but not forgotten. The hooks. The acid. The way they'd laughed when he'd finally screamed. There was a voice, he said quietly. In my head. During the worst of it. Someone I lost a long time ago. She kept telling me to hold on. That I was stronger than I thought. That I wasn't allowed to give up. Who was she? My sister. Sarah Dart. She died when I was 19. Before I enlisted. The escape you mentioned. The reason you joined the fleet. Yeah. His voice was rough. She was sick. Had been for years. I couldn't watch anymore. Couldn't handle being helpless. So I ran. Signed up for the fleet and disappeared into space. 2 months later she died. Alone. Because I was too much of a coward to stay. Keth'ira was silent. So there it is, Marcus continued. That's your leverage. The great secret that'll crack me open. I abandoned my dying sister because I couldn't handle the pain of watching her go. Every choice I've made since then. Becoming a soldier, volunteering for dangerous missions, refusing to break under interrogation. It's all just trying to prove I'm not the coward I know I am. You think this makes you weak? I know it does. No, died. Her voice was firm. It makes you human. Marcus opened his eyes to find Keth'ira standing closer than before, just at the edge of his restraint field. The injuries on her side were more visible now, purple bruises spreading beneath the translucent chitin. I have read 216 minds, she said. Warriors. Criminals. Diplomats. Scientists. Revolutionaries. Each of them had a story like yours. A wound they carried. A shame they hid. And each of them believed they were the only ones, that their weakness was uniquely terrible. And you proved them wrong. I showed them the truth. That everyone is wounded. That strength is not the absence of pain, but the choice to continue despite it. She reached out, hesitated, then let her lower hand rest on the edge of his restraint field. You did not abandon your sister, Marcus. You loved her so much that her pain was destroying you. You fled to survive. I should have stayed. Perhaps. Or perhaps you would have died with her, and the soldiers you later saved. The 12 people in your squad who survived because of your tactics, your courage, would be dead as well. Marcus's throat was tight. How do you know about that? You mentioned 43 engagements. I researched them. You have saved more lives than you have taken, Commander. Not many warriors can say the same. I've still taken plenty. Yes. Because that is war. Because sometimes taking lives is the only way to save others. She pulled her hand back. I understand now why you do not break. It is not strength or stubbornness or training. It is guilt. You believe you must suffer to atone for your sister. You welcome the pain because you think you deserve it. You're right. Marcus's voice was barely a whisper. God help me, you're right. Then listen to me. Keth'ira moved even closer, and Marcus realized with shock that her restraint field had deactivated. She could touch him now, reach him. But she simply stood there, close enough that he could see the individual facets of her compound eyes. Your sister would not want this. No one who loves you would want this. You have punished yourself for 19 years. It is enough. You are allowed to forgive yourself. That easy, is it? No. It is the hardest thing you will ever do. She stepped back, and the field reactivated. But you have done hard things before. You can do this. Marcus stared at her. Why are you doing this? This isn't interrogation. This is, I do not know, she admitted. I do not know what this is. But I know that when I look at you, I do not see an enemy anymore. I see a person in pain. And I find that I do not wish to add to that pain. The words hung in the air between them. Your superiors won't be happy, Marcus said finally. My superiors are never happy. She touched the bruises on her side. They have already expressed their displeasure. I suspect they will do so again. Then why? Because I am tired. Her voice cracked slightly. Tired of being a weapon. Tired of breaking people and extracting their secrets and watching them die. 216 minds, Marcus. I carry pieces of all of them. Their memories, their pain, their final thoughts. I cannot do this anymore. So what? You're going to let me go. I cannot let you go. But I can. She paused, seemed to be wrestling with something. I can refuse to complete the extraction. Tell them your mind is damaged, resistant in ways I cannot overcome. They will be furious. They may kill me, but they will not get what they want from you. Marcus's heart was pounding. You die for me, I would die to stop being what I am. She smiled, an alien expression, a rearranging of her mandibles that shouldn't have looked human but somehow did. And, perhaps in doing so, I would finally be something else. Something worthy of the existence I did not choose. The door alarm blared. Keth'ira's entire body went rigid, They are coming. They must have been monitoring. The door exploded inward. 3 Vel'kari warriors stormed into the room, their chitin dark and armored weapons raised. Behind them came another figure, taller, older, with the same pale coloring as Keth'ira but none of her warmth. Memory reader Keth'ira, the tall one said. You have been found guilty of treason. Step away from the subject, High Overseer. Keth'ira's voice was calm, but Marcus could see her trembling. I can explain. There's nothing to explain. We have heard everything. Your attachment to this human is unprecedented and unacceptable. The Overseer gestured to the warriors. Take her to processing. We will extract her knowledge directly and dispose of the original. The warriors moved forward. And Marcus, without thinking, without planning, threw himself against his restraints with every ounce of strength he had. The field held. Of course it held. But the action bought Keth'ira one precious second. A second she used to tap something on her tablet. The lights in the room flickered, and suddenly Marcus's restraints were gone. He moved on instinct, 17 years of combat training taking over. The first warrior went down with a crushed throat. The second managed to raise its weapon, but Marcus was already inside its guard, using its own momentum to drive it into the wall. The third fired, plasma bolt scorching past Marcus's ear, and then Keth'ira was there, small and injured but fast, her lower hands producing a blade from somewhere, and driving it up through the warrior's neural cluster. The High Overseer stared at them, 4 eyes wide with shock. Run, Keth'ira gasped. Through the maintenance tunnels. I will guide you. Not without you. I will slow you down. My injuries. Marcus grabbed her arm, gently, mindful of the bruises. I spent 19 years running. Not anymore. We go together, or we don't go at all. Something flickered across her face. Something that might have been hope. Together then, she said. This way. They ran. The maintenance tunnels beneath the facility were cramped for Marcus, clearly designed for Vel'kari bodies. Keth'ira moved through them with practiced ease despite her injuries, leading him through a labyrinth of pipes and conduits that all looked the same. Behind them, alarms wailed. How much farther? Marcus asked. There is a hangar at the end of this section, small vessels. If we can reach one, there will be guards. She stopped at a junction, consulting her tablet. I have sent a distress signal to your fleet. They may not receive it or they may not respond, but it's our best chance. Yes. Marcus checked the weapon he'd taken from the fallen warrior. Some kind of plasma rifle, heavier than he was used to. How many guards? Typically 4, perhaps more, given the alert status. She looked at him, and her eyes were very bright. Marcus, if we do not make it, we'll make it. If we do not, she continued firmly, I want you to know that these past 3 nights have been significant to me. You have shown me that the enemy I was taught to hate is not so different from my own people. That there is worth in every mind, not just the secrets it contains. Keth'ira, let me finish. She reached out, and this time she did touch him, her lower hand resting against his chest, over his heart. I was created to be a weapon, to break minds and extract information. But with you, I feel something I have never felt before. A connection that is not about extraction, but about sharing, understanding. I do not know what to call it. I think humans might call it friendship. Friendship, down. She tested the word. Is that what this is? Part of it, maybe. Marcus covered her hand with his. The other part, I don't know. I've never felt anything like this either. You've seen deeper into me than anyone ever has, and somehow, I don't mind. I should feel violated. Instead, I feel seen. Yeah. Done. Seen. The alarms changed pitch. Closer now. They were running out of time. We need to move, Marcus said. Yes. But she didn't pull away. Whatever happens in the hangar, know that I do not regret anything. These 3 nights, they were worth more than 200 interrogations. More than 32 years of being what I was created to be. Then let's make sure we have more nights. Marcus squeezed her hand and released it. Together, remember? Together. They ran again. The hangar was chaos when they arrived. 6 guards, not 4. And one of them was another memory reader. Tall and dark-shelled. Clearly a combat variant of Keth'ira's caste. Traitor, the Dark One hissed. You would abandon everything for a human. I would abandon nothing, Keth'ira replied. I would finally become something. The fight was brutal and brief. Marcus's combat training was superior, but he was injured and exhausted, and the Vel'kari were fresh. He took down 3 of them before a plasma bolt caught him in the leg, sending him crashing to the ground. Keth'ira screamed, a sound he hadn't known Vel'kari could make, and threw herself between him and the remaining guards. The dark memory reader laughed. You cannot fight us. You are a reader, not a warrior. Your only weapon is— My only weapon, Keth'ira said, is understanding. She moved faster than Marcus would have believed possible, her hands finding the neural clusters of each remaining guard with surgical precision. But the dark memory reader was ready, catching her by the throat, lifting her off her feet. Pathetic. You have spent too long in alien minds. You have forgotten what it means to be Vel'kari. No, Keth'ira gasped. I have finally learned. Her lower hands, hidden from the Dark One's view, pressed against the other's chest, and pushed. Marcus didn't know what she did. Didn't understand the memory reader's abilities, the way they could connect with other minds. But he saw the Dark One's eyes go wide. Saw her body convulse. Saw her drop Keth'ira and stumble backward, clawing at her own head. What did you— I showed you, Keth'ira said quietly. Everything I have seen in his mind. Every memory. Every piece of him that has become part of me. His love for his sister. His guilt. His courage. His capacity for connection. The Dark One collapsed, twitching. She will recover, Keth'ira said, turning to Marcus. But she will never be the same. No Vel'kari can experience a human's heart and remain unchanged. Marcus stared at her. What you did, is that what you were going to do to me? Fill my head with someone else's memories? No, that is an attack, a violation. She helped him to his feet, supporting his injured leg. What I was doing with you, is different. It is a sharing, not a taking. A merging, not an extraction. But you said you'd know everything about me, all my secrets, yes. And you would know everything about me in return. She met his eyes. That is what I could not tell my superiors. That the process is not one way. Every mind I read leaves pieces in mine. I carry fragments of every subject I have ever encountered. Their memories become my memories. Their pain becomes my pain. 216 minds. 217 now. Including yours. She touched her chest. You are here, Marcus. Part of me forever, and I part of you. He should have been horrified. Should have felt violated, invaded, changed against his will. Instead, looking at her, at this small brave creature who had defied everything she was created to be, he felt something else entirely. Good, he said. The word surprised them both. The ship, Keth'ira said after a moment. We should— Yeah, before more guards come. They limped together toward the nearest vessel, Marcus leaning on Keth'ira, Keth'ira leaning on him. Behind them, the alarms continued to wail, but ahead was open space and the faint hope of Terran rescue ships responding to Keth'ira's signal. What happens now? Marcus asked as they boarded the small craft. When we reach human space, they won't exactly welcome a Vel'kari with open arms, I know. Keth'ira's hands moved over the controls with familiar ease. I will be a prisoner again. Perhaps interrogated, as I interrogated you. No, Taz. Marcus's voice was firm. I won't let that happen. You saved my life. You changed. He stopped, struggling for words. You changed everything. Whatever it takes, I'll protect you. And I will protect you. She looked at him, and for the first time since he'd met her, her expression held something other than weariness. It took him a moment to recognize it. Hope. And companions, she said softly. What? In my culture there is a concept. When two minds become intertwined through prolonged sharing, they become caste, companions. Bonded not through blood or duty, but through understanding. It is considered sacred, unbreakable. Is that what we are? I do not know what we are. The ship lifted off, throwing them both back in their seats. But I know that I can feel your heartbeat in my chest. Your memories in my mind. Your pain in my bones. And I know that wherever you go, I will follow. Whatever happens, I will stand beside you. Not because I was created to, but because I choose to. Marcus reached out and took her hand. The gesture felt natural, inevitable, as if they'd done it 1,000 times before. Then we face it together, Keth'ira agreed. The ship broke through the atmosphere, stars spreading out before them like scattered diamonds. Somewhere out there, the war continued. Somewhere, their peoples were still killing each other. But in the small space between them, in the bond that had formed not through violence or extraction, but through honesty, vulnerability, and the simple act of seeing each other clearly, something new had begun. Not an ending to the war. Not a grand solution or a heroic victory. Just two wounded creatures, carrying pieces of each other, choosing to face the unknown together. It was enough. It was more than enough. It was everything.